The new channel. The new channel. Hashtag TNC Now.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following shows are those of the host, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the new channel. Our passion transforms a community that sees and shares all things new. This is Frances Bauer streaming from San Mateo, California. Do you like to watch and live vicariously through others' family lives, travels, relationships, passions? This show is here to encourage you to go beyond just dreaming. We'll show you some things that'll stretch your beliefs, and you'll meet some people whose real-world experiences and perspectives just might help you figure out how to go after the life you want, and maybe even break some mental barriers you didn't realize you had. This is Design Your Life with Frances Bauer. Today's guest is a former child actor, now a young entrepreneur and life coach, Charles Cinco. Oh gosh, how very
All right.
familiar that sound is when we're on the playing romper room on the Zoom. But anyhow, Charles, welcome to our show. Thank you for taking the time to, especially with this busy holiday season. I know you're trying to go out somewhere today, looking pretty snazzy. Look at you.
There's a Christmas party I gotta attend to right after this.
Right on. So you got your
I'm not even done yet.
You're not even done.
Ready
You're
yet.
still getting ready.
I got most of it ready.
Okay. Well, I mean, you look good. So
Thank you.
But yeah, thanks for taking some time out of your Thursday night. But anyhow, so Charles, I remember hearing that you were a child actor, but I remember hearing like it came up in conversation a while back that you were a child actor, like you even went on tour with like I heard the Sex Bomb Dancers. What was that show that they were on? And you were like, tell us a little about like we don't talk about that very much.
Yeah, we don't.
Tell me about that. What that experience and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm a qualified child actor, I should say, but I'll tell you, my mom definitely was a frustrated show business mother, so she put that dreams on me. But I don't regret it. So it basically got started since I was 4 years old. I went to a school or academy called Trumpets, which is a performing arts type of show that you could put your kids through in it. And simultaneously, I got discovered a little bit in the mall. And then it linked all the way through ABS-CBN, where I did a couple of home theater, in-show theater shows for ABS-CBN. And then...
Wait, what decade was this? Did I miss it? I'm like, why did I never see that?
This was around 2002. No, since 2000 to about 2004 for about about 4 years in there, from 6 to 10 years old, I would say. So I did everything from acting, modeling, singing, all that jazz that all Filipinos can do really well, not just me, but all Filipinos do that so well.
It's in our blood, shoot.
Yeah. But the thing is, with my core memory with that whole experience was probably number one was doing fiesta shows from one city to another city to another city to another city. My highlight was definitely Tondo, Manila. In Tondo, Manila, where
Tondo. Yeah, you went to Tondo. What's in Tondo? Like, what was that like?
I mean, it was hectic because it was like, you know, a party, a festival. It was what is that called? Fiesta, when there's fiesta, right? And we had Sex Bomb Dancers there. and I was like one of the main backups. I never really met any of them, had any conversations that I
Mm-hmm.
remember, but I have
Okay.
pictures of it as proof,
That's funny.
like yeah. So I don't remember much of it, but I just remember the energy. I've always loved the energy of it. So that kind of kept on up to the point that we signed a contract. My group was called Alpha 2x4 Dancers. We signed a contract with Universal, and then the first ever show that not show, music video that I did was with Parokya ni Edgar
Oh
with
wow.
what's his name? Mark Hill and
Mm-hmm.
Angel something. I wish it
Lakson,
was Angel
Angel, I
Luxine.
forget.
No,
Luxine,
it's
I
not
don't even
Panganiban
know.
either. It's another
Gosh.
video.
Okay, okay.
But it's this music video called Mang Jose by Parokya and Edgar. And
Mm-hmm.
I was a kid in that music video. And that was supposed to be the start of just me doing more music videos and commercials and advertisements. But my mom decided to take me to the US 1 year later. So
As soon as you got your big break, you left the country. Got it. I love
right,
it.
that's pretty much where it fell into. And so here we are today. Still frustrated actor. Just kidding. I'm not frustrated at all. I'm kind of glad I'm not in it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, to be honest with you. So that's a little bit of my story with that performing arts. And
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Wait, so what happened? So you moved to the US and then you had to, gosh, the culture shock. How old were you when you moved to the US?
I was 11 years old. Culture shock was definitely right off the bat. I remember telling my dad the first time around, I was like, because I haven't seen him at that point for 6 years. And the first thing I looked at when I looked at him in the eye, and he picked me up at JFK in New York. First question I ever asked him jokingly was, "Are you really my dad?" Joking, but not really, because when you're grew up with a dad and you don't really see him for 6 years or so, your memory is kind of shot. You don't really know what is or who is dad. My connection with him
Mm,
was more so I was receiving video games and getting pasalubong every
stuff.
single year.
Yeah.
Stuff. It was stuff. So, and again, that's a normal thing for most immigrant family or
Yeah,
kids, right? It's normal.
absolutely. Uh-huh.
Absolutely is. So that was my childhood. And then we lived in Jersey for 2 years until 2008. We moved here in Cali. And it was a bad
Mm-hmm.
time to move because that was the beginning.
2008, yes.
Right. That was the beginning. So I remember at one point we lived in a one apartment bedroom. There was 8 of us,
Oh
you know,
my
and
goodness. So
it
hold on real quick. For those of you watching that have no idea what was going on in the United States in 2008, there was a huge recession. The housing market crashed.
yep.
So many people lost money, property, retirement, whatnot. Like it was a bad time for the economy. So that's when you moved to the United States. So sorry,
Yeah,
go on.
yes, it was. But what's funny? Because back then I didn't even understand what was going on.
Sure.
I didn't understand, like my mom had to move jobs from another job. I understand. But the only thing I cared about was playing my Wii,
Of course. Of
right?
course.
And school. So that was, well, I would should say a foreshadowing into a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of why I do what I do today.
I see. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Because of just kind of, I guess you moved into what when you moved, you had no basis, I guess. What's the word? No baseline of what things are supposed to be. So you came in and
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, network marketing in general became kind of like my school ground for
Hmm.
life. I knew I didn't want to be in school, period. And
Okay.
I was blessed enough to be shot in the middle. How do I put this? My first ever experience of network marketing was in the Philippines when
Hmm.
when my aunt talked about this one company that was an energy company, and I'll never forget.
Okay.
And she started going into meetings, and she would take care of me because my mom was at work, my dad was already here, so I would be
Mm-hmm.
stuck with her. So there was many moments where she would sit down in meetings and I would listen into,
Hmm.
and I would just, hear stories about successful people not going to
Sure.
college and,
Yeah.
entrepreneurship before I even knew what entrepreneurship was.
Uh-huh.
So this was again at a young age, simultaneously while I
Uh-huh.
was being put into performing arts.
Yes.
Right?
And
And
then you were
so
yanked out of performing arts and
I
all
was
you're
here.
left was with that grooming,
That's
I
right.
suppose.
That's right. So yeah, yeah.
So coming back though, so okay, fast forward to, so you got through school, you got through high school, and then if I remember correctly, you went on to school, you went on to acting school because you didn't go to a traditional college. You went to, right?
Yes.
You weren't trying to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, nurse.
I wasn't. No, I did not want to be. I did not want to be a typical Filipino person. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
So
didn't.
can I
Uh-huh.
share the story?
Yeah, please.
So 17, told my mom,
Uh-huh.
I don't want to have a boss.
Oh,
That's what I told my mom, but I didn't really have a plan. But I still tried to go and do college and pursue college. Went to LA for I think 4 months. Got really homesick to study filmmaking, but it was a
okay.
nice experience because our studio sometimes would be literally inside Warner Bros. Studio. That was part of the contract for that school where we get to use some of the
Your
sets and
soundstage.
for yeah the soundstage Pirates of the Caribbean. We got to shoot a
Oh
couple
my
of
God.
projects and some yeah
I got goosebumps.
it
Wow.
was a great experience but
Mm-hmm.
I just knew right away that I didn't want to be in it because I was looking around. I had classmates who would be $60,000 in debt, $100,000 in debt, or
Mm-hmm.
others would be, they've graduated filmmaking. I would meet them in parties and they would say, graduated filmmaking, but they've been a waiter for 10 years. I was like, there's a timeline that I was looking at. And I didn't want to do that. So
I
fortunately,
see.
I was already, at a part-time business called Vector
Mm-hmm.
Marketing, where I sold knives for a living.
Okay.
And, those were some high-ass, bomb-ass quality knives that would retail for at least $1,000 to $3,000.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I was paying for my own bills. I was paying for my own, making my own money. Sometimes I would even make more money than some of my college friends at that time would make in a 40-hour shift in a week. So I was just kind of like, you know what? I have a plan B. Let me
Mm-hmm.
kind of expand on this plan B, which was entrepreneurship,
Okay.
see where I can
Mm-hmm.
go. So since 2012, dropped out, never had a job, never clocked in, clocked out, which is very fortunate for my part. Definitely hard,
You've
but
never had a
it's
job?
never had a
Like
job.
never, you've never signed a W-4, you've never received a paycheck, a
No, no,
oh.
no. So that's funny because
Mm-hmm.
that's why sometimes I get lost when it comes to like some of my new business partners asking me, should I file my W-2 if I'm getting 1099?
You're like,
And I'm like, well, I don't know.
I don't
The
know.
only thing I know is 1099. Not the only thing I know.
That's
Right.
funny. Okay.
So yeah, yeah.
Wow. And then so my understanding was, I mean, so you went the network marketing route. You've experienced starting your own business. You've experienced having the opportunity, having, set systems put in front of you, and you did very well because you're just really great at executing, a set, procedure. Um, Plus, I know that you've got the gift of gab. It's probably comes from your acting, right? Tell me about, like, it kind of, it transfers, right? Those are transferable skills.
Oh, it definitely is transferable skills. Like,
Yeah.
the fake it till we make it. Like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people have a hard time with that because obviously
Mm-hmm.
it's very hard to fake it.
Well, I
Uh,
mean, you kind of have an integrity gap in the back of your
you do
head,
have an
right?
integrity gap for sure. That's why a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people don't succeed in sales, period, because of
Mm-hmm.
that. But that's why for me, that tip don't work really well because no one wants to fake it. Instead,
Oh
find
God, no.
yourself and be more authentic and present yourself in a manner that's real to you and then bridge the gap with the product that you represent. So for me, I always have the saying like be a product of the product.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be the product of the product. And for me, being in business, a product of the product also comes with, well, I got to walk the walk and talk the talk when I'm selling
Sure.
these products and I'm selling these opportunities. Because
Mm-hmm.
at one point, I was the person that was being sold to, and someone shared that opportunity with me.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, sometimes it actually feels like I'm acting on stage because, I get to speak on a stage
Mm-hmm.
to people. And sometimes it really feels like I'm acting, but at the same time, it's just really who I am. And who I am comes with energy, comes with passion. It comes with deliberateness of words and intentionality with how I use my words. And there's a structure of concepts that I like to put to people instead of always abstract. So I want to make sure I could be the person that can simplify things to my people. That's why I feel like I've been able to succeed in sales, I should say, because simplifying things is really the main game of sales. Right.
I see.
It's simplifying things. Yeah.
So just to catch up our the audience on all of this, you have had, with the different business models that you've been able to execute, right? And I know for a fact that you found some success, some financial success executing these different business models. I know that you were able to buy your dream car, and you were able to buy a house for mom, and you were able to, and not just a dinky little house. It was big. It's a
You've been
pretty
in it.
sizable house. Yes, of
That's
course.
right.
You
That's right.
remember? Yes, I your house,
That's
Charles.
right. I forgot about
There's
that.
other stories that have happened in that house that need to not go on camera. Anyhow, nothing bad, folks. Nothing bad. But anyhow, I mean, and then you just kind of disappeared from view for a while, Charles.
Yeah, I did. So you
You
want to get into that?
let's talk about that. Let's tell us about that.
Well, where do I start? I think I should start where I think people are aware of the consequences of success until they're actually in the middle of it.
Okay.
Let me put up some context into it. I didn't have my first drink until I was 25 years old. That was my first alcohol ever, to give you some context. My first concert was at 17 years old at a Tony Robbins event.
That was your first concert, Tony Robbins. All right.
So that kind of sets the bar a little bit of like what my life was. So from 17 to about 25 years old, I was consumed by just work. I was consumed by business. I was consumed to just the next milestone, the next milestone, the next milestone. And there was a point where I got burnt out, which was in 2018. The burnt out was realizing that the amount of success that I had brought a lot of, I should say, acquaintance that I didn't see was that I thought, I should say, acquaintance that I thought were real friends.
I was just talking to somebody about strategic friendships.
That's right. That's nice. It's a real thing. Strategic friendships is a real thing. So now, knowing what I know now, friendship should be put this way. There's a connection, acquaintance, friendship, and strategic partnerships. And to me, strategic partnerships is both personal and business. One could be personal, one could be really business, but it's a friendship where there's something to gain all the time. But the reason why I got so burnt out was in 2018, people started hanging out with me because at that time I just thought, wow, a lot of people are seeing, like, just hanging out with me. I think I'm cool. I think I made it. I think I did this. I did that. And I started to realize for about a year and a half there, people started asking me questions that were geared towards gaining something. Charles, how did you do this? How did you earn that? How did you get this? How did you, what can I get out of you to make sure I elevate my life? Which I didn't mind doing because I still love that. When it comes to the downtime, the downtime, that means, how are you? How's your family? How are you doing? Those were the questions that mattered that I didn't know I needed to be asked, because personal connections was something that I was missing. I was around a lot of people, but I wasn't actually with a person.
That sounds like a Justin Bieber song, and I'm not making fun of you. I just
literally, is it?
It's that, isn't it?
Wow,
Wasn't
I didn't
it?
know that.
Was it that? Have you heard that song? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't
Okay,
know.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, yeah.
But
now I have a theme song.
No, that better not be your theme song.
But that's it. But that's exactly it.
Okay.
So that was the start of my mental health. And then 2020 kind of accelerated everything because everyone had to go back into their own world.
Yes.
So I know I'm not the only one that, that felt this in 2020, the impact of social impacts of 2020. But really, like, people got to start talking about the impacts of 2020 because there's a lot of mental strings and emotional strings that are attached to that from being shut down and shut away from people. that a lot of people are socially anxious. And that was me, right?
I
That
think
was
we learned a lot from 2020, though. I think it forced us to look at ourselves,
absolutely.
you know?
2020 was almost like a necessary rebirth for all of us,
Mm,
like a necessary way for us to just be stuck with ourselves. And unfortunately, there were some people that couldn't handle that, so they went
yeah.
to alcohol.
Hmm.
Um, guess what? That was me.
It
That's
was
why I said,
essential, but like, I mean, in this country, it's considered essential. In the Philippines, there was a liquor ban, and I
"Wow,
had a friend. Yeah, I had a friend ask me, he's like, "Why is there a liquor ban?" And I'm like, "Because they equate it with domestic violence.
that's good." No, for real, that's good. Because
It
for me in
forces
here,
you to
like,
deal with yourself."
yes, because for me, I definitely fell into that trap because you got to know
Mm,
in our business, the residual income is great. So to be
yeah.
honest, during that time, I wasn't struggling financially. I
No.
know everyone was, but I was so blinded because I was just so stuck in myself and what I was actually, going through that uh, me being in a pandemic was just an excuse for me to actually do the things I've never gotten to do up to that point, which was buy alcohol, have fun at home, invite friends when there's time to, get people over, or, literally sleep at 3 a.m. in the morning, wake up at 12. And that became my mental health.
Oh my
You'll see how
goodness.
that kind of started everything.
Like also, you kind of, it almost sounds to me like you were catching up on all the things that most people
Have done
do at, like, once
young.
they hit like they almost even have it out of their system by the time that they're 21,
Yes.
because they are, you know what I I mean, I just had my first child when I was 21, so I totally relate to you on that. Like, while everyone was out partying, I was taking care of business, and I
Yes.
feel like that's
It felt like I owed myself that, but I didn't have
mm.
any limitations, which was the worst part. I should have been smarter.
But did you know? I mean, what do we know in our early 20s, Charles?
You don't. You don't really.
Unless someone is there to tell you, and you're open to listening to them when you're in your 20s.
Yeah, 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 you're right. Yeah, because I was about 25, 26 for
Um,
me. I'm 29 now. So that's
yeah,
3 years
yeah.
ago.
No, early 20s, it's so I don't put that on yourself.
I
I should
don't.
have known. There's so many things, man.
Yeah.
I should have known. Um, so tell me about, so you got to catch up on the drinking, you got to catch up on the partying, and then tell me, you disappeared,
I
and
did
you found
disappear.
yourself in a dark place. Can you tell me just a little bit, just as much as you're comfortable sharing,
Um,
with an international audience?
yeah, no, I love this. So no matter where you are, no matter
Hmm.
which part of you are in the world, anyone can relate to this, where it
Okay.
seems like um everything is on your plate, and all of a
Mm,
sudden, if one plate is too full, you'll pull out another plate and try to do a balancing act.
sure.
And to me, the balancing act was step three. It wasn't step one. For me, step
Mm,
one was finding myself first. Step one was getting stuck with myself and getting real cold truth, hard facts with who I really am, and locking in myself into a place where I don't want to be so I can find myself. This is a place that I call, some people will call it rebirth, some people would say second chance, some people would say whatever it is for you. For me, 2021 to 2022 was a time and place where I shut off business. I didn't attend any meetings. I wanted to make sure I am in touch with nature. I'm in touch
mhm,
with my meditations. I'm in touch with myself. I journaled a lot. I wrote down a lot about myself, uh,
mm.
and things that I was going through. And at that time, it was also, though it was really revealing, it was also one of the darkest place because I had to come face to face, eye to eye with my darkness. And so when you're filled with that darkness, it
Mhm.
just feels like the edge is very close. And when you're suicidal, one thing about people who are suicidal, the edge is very clear.
You were suicidal, Charles?
Oh, I was suicidal. I'm not, I'm not, I'm not ashamed to say that because I'm not there anymore. But at that time, I was definitely suicidal. My first ever attempt was back in 2019. My last attempt was 2021.
What
But in
were
20,
those thoughts? What was driving you there? Like, what thoughts drove you to even think about that? I mean, think about, you were in a place that everyone would have killed to be in.
Yeah,
And
you're right. You're
I
right. You're
think
right.
this
You're
is the
right.
thing. I mean,
You're
this
right.
is the question about people like celebrities and people who everybody thinks are doing well, and all of a sudden they take their own lives. Like, what drives people like Robin Williams, Kate
Yeah.
Spade,
Yeah.
um,
Kurt Cobain.
the list. It's a long list. Kurt Cobain. It's a long list. Can you shed some light for us who are just scratching our heads and why?
Um, I think it's desire. You
Okay.
know, I think a lot of people, for me at least, it was the knowing that there was no fulfillment past desire. How do I put this?
Hmm.
People desire for things. People desire for a quality life. People desire for more money. People desire for a healthier life. People desire for all these things. And because of desire, it becomes a motivation that then turns into a purpose. And then that purpose then becomes your life. And then once you actually hit that milestone, you say, what's next? I can't
Okay.
tell you how many times there's been times where I hit a milestone and immediately there's this, for people who are watching this that have hit a lot of milestone in their life, you know what I'm talking about, where there's this immediate sense of, is this
Okay.
it?
Now what?
Yeah. Is this it? Okay, now what? What's next? And to me, the reality is 17 until 25, that's 8 years of my life. It kind of came fast. To give you some
Yeah.
context, I
Yeah.
was making 60,000 my first year being in business
Mm-hmm.
at 17. And then I graduated to another so 70,000.
That's USD in what year? What year were you 17 years old?
2012.
Yeah.
2012. And then I became one of the youngest senior vice president in my second company at 19.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in that company for another 2 years. And then I came into the insurance industry, made six
Mm-hmm.
figure my first year, became a director my first year, qualified for all these elite trips, super trips, never missed
All the stuff. Yes.
all these things.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, oh, like I'm living the high life,
Mm-hmm.
right? Quote unquote, the high life. Women.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a playboy or anything. I'm not palaquero or anything, but women was definitely. But I
Babaero naman. Babaero.
babaero. There you go. I don't know what it.
Babaero.
Yeah.
Lalakero, something else.
Oh, I don't know what that means. Okay, see, okay. My bad, my bad.
All good. It's
Babaero.
all good.
But that's exactly what I'm saying. Is that
Yeah.
there was a point where, man, is that it? So
Mm.
that's why in 25, 26, around that time, I really started noticing who are my real friends, who
Mm.
are the people that will be there for me and will want to remain consistent. Because I think all of us can relate to this. Older we get, the smaller the circle gets. And the smaller the
It's
circle
true.
gets, you start to realize like you have to start early. Like you have to start early finding your circle quick because you'd
Mm-hmm.
rather find your circle now than later when you're 50, 60, you've accomplished everything, but you have no one to share it with.
Mm.
I don't want that. Because like for me, it's not about am I going to be successful at 50, 40? I'm like, yeah, I am. It's not a question. It's more like,
Sure.
okay, am I going to be able to share it with other people? So that's the question.
Because then it's not successful, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I guess success means different things to different people. I guess when you're struggling with something that you don't have, that thing that you don't have is success. And so,
Yeah. Well, I got to say,
mm-hmm.
success is definitely fruitful. But there's a plateau whenever you don't consider other people. Because when you don't consider other people, whether if
Mm-hmm.
it's you providing for them, well, most of the time it's you have to be the one to provide something to get fulfillment out of it.
To get, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to provide value, I guess. Yeah.
Because if you serve yourself, it's pleasure. If you serve others, it's fulfillment.
Mm, I like that. Like, yeah. Um, so bring us back really quick. So, found yourself in a dark place. How'd you crawl out?
One by one. I crawled out. It's a really weird, but I really
Okay.
believe that the mind and the body is separate.
Okay.
And the mind,
They are.
they are. And the mind works in thoughts and the body works in feelings. And when you're
Mm.
anxious, right, you're anxious or you're depressed,
Mm-hmm.
you're receiving two types of signals, one from your mind and one from your body. Now,
Okay.
by nature, I'm a person that operates in the mind more than the body. So my my first line of duty to serve myself was to understand my thoughts. Around
Mm.
that time in 2021, I studied NLP. NLP
Okay.
stands for
Neuro-linguistic programming.
programming. That's right.
Yes.
Here it
Mm-hmm.
is. And I started understanding the pattern, the language patterns that I have for my mind, and simultaneously with other folks and how they speak. So I catch it right away now. So I started studying my mind. And then the next thing I started studying was my body. What do I mean by body? The body means that when I'm anxious, why is it that my cortisol level goes up?
Right.
My cortisol level goes up because my mind is creating this story that I'm being chased by a lion, for
Mm-hmm.
example. And that lion could
That's
be
your amygdala.
amygdala, right? That's right.
Right.
And because of that, my body starts to tense up. There would be mornings. There would be countless mornings. I would tell you that my mind would already be thinking 10 thoughts in 5 seconds the minute I wake up. And then what made it worse, when I was drink this coffee filled with sugar, Dutch Bros coffee, it's like
Oh boy.
30 grams to 50 grams of sugar that gets me amped up. Oh my God. And it felt so nice. But again, alcohol plus Dutch Bros coffee on a week-to-week basis could do something to your mental for sure. So long story short, meditation was the practice for my body. I started doing retreats. I started
Mm-hmm.
going on spiritual retreats with groups,
Mm-hmm.
sound healing, a little bit of
Mm.
plant healing, and a little bit of what do you call that? Therapy as well, group therapy. So
Mm.
those were the things that I really needed to experience to get out of myself, to get to know myself. Um, so that's how I crawled myself out from it. It's still a work, it's still a daily experience, but I got to tell you, life has changed like a year and a half ago for sure. Like today, everything is different. Today, everything is clear. Everything is purposeful,
I
intentional.
love hearing that. Yes, that's wonderful.
Yes.
How was that with your tell me, tell me.
I just want to say
Uh-huh.
success is definitely different this time because success is now towards others. Uh,
Versus hitting a goal that was set by someone else and doing what you're told.
mhm. Yeah.
Mm.
Yes. Yes.
Can I ask you real quick what that was like with your how did you what did you tell your Filipino parents who we just don't have a whole lot
Mm.
of education? There's this the stigma, there's a what is wrong with you? You have XYZ. How could you possibly, you know where I'm going with that?
I do. It's funny, like I've had many moments since my depression that my
Mm-hmm.
mom would just not understand. There would be moments where she'd try to understand.
Yeah,
She'd comfort me physically, but there's always a plateau of how much she really understands.
sure.
Until one night, there was this book that I was reading. What fucking book was that? Sorry for my language. What book was that? But there was a book that I made her read with me.
Okay.
In this book, it stated that it was an author on that book that created a letter to show to whoever is going through that, to share to their
Mm-hmm.
loved ones, so that people who are depressed, who doesn't know how to express it, can have their loved ones read that letter instead.
Oh wow, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And I made my mom read it. We obviously both cried to each other. It was one of those beautiful moments. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, it was finding an outlet for me to be able to get to my mom and my dad
Mm-hmm.
so that they're aware of what I'm going through without me having to butcher my words. Because if they ask me, I'll just be an emotional blob. I'll just be like, because my nothing is working
How
out
do you
for me.
verbalize? I mean, how do you
How do you
even verbalize that? We're not taught to
We're
express
not.
that.
We're
We're not
not.
taught to express that.
We're not. Definitely not. So I was smart enough to just kind of, okay, here's a letter that I found someone that can do it for me. And then I'll go
Mm-hmm.
from there. That was the beginning. This was back in 2021. That was the beginning. And that's why I feel so free. Like there's There's this freedom that I'm just telling people, yeah, I was depressed once. I was suicidal once, but I'm not there anymore at all because I'm at peace with it. As a matter of fact, today is my strength. Today it's what I use as a gift bag to give to people, right?
It's a
Um,
beautiful thing.
it is. It really is. So what's my advice to people going through this who
Yeah,
have parents that may not understand?
because most don't, unless you've been through it. How could you possibly? It's such a strange thing to observe from a third person perspective.
It is.
How? What? You mean get a snap out of it? Let's go. Let's go. Oh, what is the most common one? Let's drink it off. Oh,
Oh, well, let's drink it
bote
off.
lang yan. Bote lang katapat niyan. Like,
Oh.
all these things. Let's get some ice. Oh, homegirl, let's go get some ice cream. Oh, let's go.
Basically feed into the bad habits.
All of the things, bodily pleasures, seeking bodily pleasures to distract the mind,
Yeah.
right? As if that's going to do it.
Yeah, it's not gonna do it.
No.
My biggest advice is number one, like look for a community. Because
Mhm.
that's what helped serve me was looking for a community that understood where I was at.
Okay.
That's the first. Second, so look for a community that understands what you're going through so you have someone to share it with.
So there's Facebook. Are there Facebook groups? Are there, I mean, because the different kinds of resources for different, this show lands in many different places. There
You
are
know what,
people
for
that
me,
have the resources you did. There are people that do not, that still
yes.
have to keep going to work.
So the resource for me was not just joining community on Facebook. The resource for me was actively asking people how they were.
Mm.
Because for me, if I'm gonna find my community, I don't want to just join. I'd actually like find someone that I can meet eye to eye and ask them, how are you? Like, are you okay? How you've been dealing so far with this? Because if you're dealing with that, I'm sure I can probably relate. And let me tell you what I've been dealing as well. Because to me, it starts with that. Like, I just don't want to join a community to post something and see people comment. Nah, for me, let's go back into the eye to eye connection. That's number one. Number two
Mm-hmm.
was also take the time to study where you're at. If you don't
Mm.
study where you're at, you're never going to know where you can be. That's the second. Study where you're at. Ask yourself, what is it that you want? What is it that you hate? What is it that you love? What is it that really you haven't put on a piece of paper? Data dump. That's what I'm trying to say. Data dump.
Okay.
The third would be find your spirituality, not in
Okay.
a religious context, but I would say find your spirituality in a sense that, how do I put this? That there is a sense of purpose that is beyond you,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't find that until you find you. It's almost fascinating because I've always thought it was rah-rah BS when people say, no, I love myself.
Okay.
Today, Francis,
Hmm.
I love myself. Like I can confidently say, I love myself. And that's why I can share it to others with a smile and love them back. So it's very weird to finally see some people eye to eye, which is very minimal group of population, like Hermie, for example. I could actually look
Our
at him
friend.
and
Yeah.
really see that he is genuine.
Mm-hmm.
He is happy. He loves himself. But you can't get there until you don't get to know yourself.
I see.
Yeah. So
That's wonderful.
yeah.
But so Charles, thank you for sharing that with us. And because I'm hoping that this show reaches whoever needs to hear it. But let's talk real quick about some happy stuff. What's keeping you busy now? Now that you've found yourself and you're out of that dark place and you're continuing to be a work in progress.
Yeah.
What's keeping you busy these days?
Well,
Where are you now? Like, what's give us a happy. There is no happy ending, but there's an epilogue.
Yeah. Well, I'm in a place right now where business is definitely thriving, which is good. I just opened up my first office a few months ago.
Beautiful.
So that's two.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations,
I
by
don't
the
really.
way.
Thank you. Appreciate that. It's weird because I am having fun with work.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really am having fun with work and challenges, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not the end all be all anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's a task I'm willing to just accomplish with my best. But the other things that I'm really have definitely changed was my health. My health was
Mm.
something that I took for granted for years because my excuse was I was young. I'm still young today, 29, still, but still, I've definitely felt the other side where I'm not healthy and I didn't want to be there anymore. So I work out every day religiously.
You're gonna start feeling it more. The hormonal changes as you get
Hormonal
a little
changes,
bit
yeah.
older, it's just not the same.
What you know what's funny is like that's where really I started also taking supplements and things to really support the micro chemicals in my body that needs to be
Mhm.
supported.
Sure.
So I take real pleasure on taking care of my health. Um,
Mm.
so I don't know. I mean, it sounds too so boring, but those are really the two things that I'm really having fun with. Those to me
Mhm.
are happy moments. Um, I think what's also makes me happy is when I see happy people who are also getting healthy or already healthy.
Mm.
It just adds more to the soul for me.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
So you mentioned a little bit a little bit earlier to me before we started off that you were doing some coaching. You were helping people live better lives and design your life.
Yeah,
Tell
yeah,
me a little
design
tell
your
us
life.
a bit about that.
Yeah, so also a life coach by profession.
Mm-hmm.
I have I graduated back in 2016 and then I retook it again with 2019 with John Maxwell.
Mm-hmm.
And so
So are you a
my
certified John Maxwell
yeah,
coach?
yeah,
Also,
yes I am.
okay.
But I'm not practicing it as a private thing. It's more something that I use as supplemental with the business that I run.
Hmm.
Right. So coaching is in my blood because coaches were the reasons why I was able to elevate right away. I always tell
Mm.
people I've had three coaches in my life. The first one was the first person to coach me how to get over sales humps and the psychology behind
Mm.
sales.
Okay.
The second mentor was the first one to teach me about how to give your money to others. And
Hmm.
also, yeah,
I'll take some. Kidding.
yeah. The third one and the last one was the one that balanced both, where
Oh,
he
wow.
knows how to make a sale
Mm-hmm.
and he gives a lot back to the other people as well. Like it's just there's just this sense of harmony that this person has. So
Mm-hmm.
coaching has been in my blood, and I want to be that for others as well. I mainly coach in psychology. I mainly coach within the realm of habits and behaviors
Mm-hmm.
and how that controls our mind that then duplicates into our body and how to get out of that. There's a great book called um, How to Break the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Mm.
Yes. It's a life-changing book that you definitely should check out.
Okay.
And it's 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 where he talks about how the mind operates and how the body operates.
Wow.
That's the simple terms. That's how I kind of want to put it. Yeah. So that's the main focus on what I do in coaching.
Wow. So, Charles, tell us how people can reach you if they might. Are you taking in coaching
I
clients?
absolutely am if they
You
want to.
are. Okay. How do people reach you? And if they would, like to explore that with
Sure.
you.
So I know we have mixed audience, so I'll give out my business phone number first.
Or if you can give an email or a social media handle is perfectly fine as well.
Okay.
Because not everyone will be able to reach you
Yeah.
over on your phone number.
Sure. So
Is
you can
that
reach
better? Yeah.
yeah, so you can reach me at charlescinco@gmail.com.
Okay.
And or you can follow me on Instagram and DM me at
Mm-hmm.
charlescinco_. And that's it. It's just my name, first name, last name, underscore, and that's it. Honestly, I don't charge. I really invite people to just have a conversation with me. I should say, I'm an open man. I'm not an open book per se. I'm an open man when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to just having a conversation and being able to guide you. But if you want to take it more in a serious note, then obviously that's where other conversation starts.
And on that topic of being an open man, he is, ladies, he's taken. So I hate to break it to you, but this handsome young gentleman is taken. So,
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
just looking out for you, Charles, because you're gonna get some weird emails coming up.
I hope not.
No, probably not. But anyway, Charles, thank you so much for spending your evening with me. I really appreciate the time, and just you being vulnerable with me and the rest of the world on this platform.
We could use more vulnerability. People would just connect more.
Yeah,
no, for real. So, and thank you for inviting me as well into your amazing show. And I can't wait to see it grow. I love the fact that you're having your voice finally in front of an audience.
Thank you, Charles.
Yeah.
And oh wait, one last thing before we go.
Yes.
Because I know people are gonna ask, do you speak Tagalog, Charles?
Of course. Hindi pwede na hindi. Hindi pwede na hindi.
Di pwedeng hindi.
Hindi pwede na hindi. But sometimes I baluktot.
Baluktot. Or was it say barok? Barok.
Barok. Is that what it is? Okay, barok.
Ang ubo, mabilis lumala. Kaya dapat agapan. Dapat New Solmux Advanced Syrup. May 2 times zinc para ang ubo, imbis na lumala, tulungang mabilis mawala. New Solmux Advanced Syrup.
Unilab yan.
Ang 40D, tumutulong patibayin ng vital organs, iwas sakit sa puso at iba pang sakit.